Right. Hey there, guys. What is up? So, today I wanted to talk to you guys about how controversy can affect a person, and more importantly, why so many controversies don't really matter. And they only matter so far as that person is considered likable or unlikable in the current society, given the current political climate or the general consensus of that time period. For example, in history, most of the people that we dislike intensely, that we know to be bad people, have more often than not have some form of controversy surrounding them. And very often the controversies are what we remember, or rather, it's what we're told. But you also see the other side of it, wherein some people will try to shame you or shame those people for having controversies. So basically, let's say your family is a bad family or something like that, and they will try to put the onus on everyone who comes up in that family as though they're a bad person, but only so far as they are unlikable. If the person is likable, controversy be damned. Um, whatever they do doesn't really matter because they could be the most horrible people imaginable, do the most heinous things, but so long as they are liked, they can get away with it. Take, for example, two people that are in the uh, current spectrum that actually fit this bill quite perfectly: Kanye West and Mike Tyson. Both objectively terrible people, yet the defenses for Kanye West and Mike Tyson often come at the result of them being successful. So when someone says Kanye West is a bad person, the immediate response is, but he is a great musician. So there's a trade off. You see, if a person is good at something, they're allowed to be a bad person so far as people are willing to accept it. There's a line that people will draw in the sand where they will say, okay, if that person does that, then I'm not going to support them anymore. But everything else I'm perfectly fine with. And this comes in a lot, especially with someone like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is, a lot of people talk about him like he's such a great fighter. I mean, the dude literally bit someone's ear off. And I mean, regardless of semantics surrounding that, had that happened today, I doubt that any boxer would be able to recover from that. But because people like Mike Tyson, they're willing to give him a free pass. Where this all comes around for me is with something like a guy named Max Landis. Some of you may be familiar with him, some of you may not be familiar with him. But for those of you that are familiar with him, you may be familiar with his controversies. And a lot of people like to hate on that guy. For what I can really surmount to be no good reason. There have been plenty of people who have treated women terribly, much worse than Max has, but they get a free pass because people still like them. Max is a guy that lots of people don't like. That's why they constantly use that. Like, you'll find if you're a person who's good at something, even if you're really good at it, but people still don't like you, they'll wait until you mess up and they'll hold the thing that you messed up with over your head constantly. Simply, I don't know, maybe that's human nature. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because how do you excuse one person and then justify the other? Like what makes, does a person simply have to have enough money? So if like Adolf Hitler was like being, I don't know, generous, would you side with them then? If Jeff Bezos was going around and making killer mixtapes, would you then be like, I guess it's not so bad? I mean, the line here, it really is, it's so confusing to me because at what point a lot of these people, they will talk about forgiveness. Oh, that person isn't like that anymore. They've made a mistake. Yes, they've made the mistake, but they have apologized for it. And you should stop criticizing them because they have made up for it and they're a better person for it now. Yet the same luxury, you could call it, is not afforded to people like Max. Max can change all he wants, and people will still crap on him. Like no matter how much the guy does, there'll still be people like, oh well, all you ever do is just do blah 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 blah. Like people are always just shitting on him, regardless of whether he changes or not. And so I suppose the question that you have to ask yourself, and that we all have to ask ourselves, is why is it that some people get a free pass and others don't? I mean, I've literally seen for years now, with the result, with like the basically you can say with the invention. I don't even know if this invention is the right word, but with the popularity of the internet, people can learn a lot of stuff. The more people learn about their history, certain people were told to be like ashamed, like, oh yeah, you were part of this group of people, and you guys, your ancestors did that, so you should be ashamed. Now those people are turning it the other way, and they're like, yeah, my grandfather was a mass murderer, so what? And other people are like, yeah, own it. Good for you, man. Own that stuff because what your ancestors did, what your fathers did, doesn't reflect on you. And that same mentality, those same people will turn around and go and comment on Max's video, oh, your dad killed two people and you're a bad guy because your dad killed two people. Like, you know, regardless of the circumstances of what caused that, whether you agree with what caused John Landis's, I guess, that controversy, regardless of how you feel about it, why is it that those same people will justify one person doing something, but completely nail the other guy to the cross? Like, yeah, this guy, he deserves because he's just so bad and he's so terrible. So it seems that controversy in the modern world really only applies so far as people like you, and more importantly, how much you are able to convince people that you're a good guy. Because if you can convince them that you're a good guy, even if you've done the worst stuff, like that's the reality. If you could be the worst person on earth, the worst. And so long as you have enough money, enough power, enough influence, and enough people in your corner, it really doesn't matter what you do. It really doesn't matter what you get caught doing. It really doesn't matter if no one catches you at all, because people will defend you to the end. Whereas if you're not a likable person, it doesn't matter how good you are. The second you mess up, you'll be hung up. You'll be burned at the stake. And that'll be the end of you. Go figure, huh?